Sewist and aspiring sewist, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video I'm going to be teaching you how to make a cargo pant. So if this looks like what you're interested in, then let's get into the main video. Meanwhile, I'm going to be sewing this with a manual machine. So if you have a manual machine, this is a go for you. So let's get started. So I'm going to be making use of this checkers material. I'm going to make use of 1.5 yards. I'm just going to be managing that. So once I'm done with that, I'm also going to be needing this elastic, this stretchy elastic, and that's all I'm going to be needing. So let's get into the main tutorial video. So to begin with, I had already gone ahead to measure 44 inches and I added 1 inch allowance to it to make it 45 inches for my full length measurement. Then I also went ahead to take out 2 inches above for my folding allowance at the upper part. So now it's time to cut my flap. With my flap, I decided to divide my hip measurement by 4. Then I added 1 inch. That gave me 12.5 inches. So the next thing now is for me to measure my hips. So for my hips, I divided my hips into 4, and that gave me 11.5. So I'm going to measure 11.5 from the other end of my fabric. So once I'm done marking it out, I'm going to be using my French curve to trace out the curve. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to be measuring my thigh measurement. So for my thigh measurement, I'm going to be dividing 27 into 2, and that will give me 13.5. And what we have already is 13.5 here. So I'm going to proceed to marking out 13.5 on my fabric. We've already marked out 13.5 as the default round waist measurement for this front part of our cargo pants. So I'm going to be having exactly 30.5 here. So now I'm going to proceed to measuring my ankle. So for my ankle, I'm going to be making use of 9 inches, and I'm not going to be adding any allowance because we're still going to be adding the allowance to the back side of our cargo pants. So once I'm done marking my 9 inches, I'm also going to be using my tape rule to merge my ankle towards my thigh measurements, and I'm going to be marking it out. So once I'm done marking them out, I'm going to proceed to cutting out what I have here. So if you followed our previous video on how to make a joggers, I already explained the reason why we added 1.5 inches allowance to the back side of our trouser. So this same formula also applies here. We're also going to be adding ½ inch to the back side flap, and we're also going to go ahead to cut all of this out. Always take note that the back side is not as flat as the front side of every human being, and this is why we add this allowance to the back side of every trouser we make. Once I'm done marking out this, I'm going to go ahead to cut out the fabric. Now we're going to proceed to cutting out the inner side pocket. So for this, I'm going to be making use of 13 inches for the length of the pocket, and I'm also going to be making use of 6.5 on folds for the width of the pocket. So I'm going to be cutting 2 at the same time. So I'm making use of 13 inches and 6.5. So automatically that means we're making use of 13 inches for the length and 13 inches for the width, overall width. Now for the combat pocket, I'm going to make use of 8 inches for the width, while for the length of the pocket, I'm going to make use of 10 inches. So once I'm done with it, I'm also going to be cutting it out. Now we're going to be cutting the cap of the combat. So for this, I'm going to be using the same width measurements we used for the combat pocket, which is 8 inches. So for the length of this, I'm going to be making use of 5 inches. So we're going to be cutting 2 pieces of that. So when we put it on fold, it's going to be 2.5 inches. So this is going to serve as our combat cap. So now I'm going to proceed to cutting the sides of our combat pocket. So I'm going to make use of 2.5 inches for this, and I'm going to be cutting out 3 pieces of this. There's no standard measurement for the length because I'm going to be cutting out the excesses eventually. But for the width, I'm making use of 2.5 inches. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to cut it out. So at this point, I gathered some fabric together and I measured about 4 inches for the length, while for the width I measured about 1.5 for this particular one. Then I proceeded to measuring the longer one, which I didn't measure the length because I was making use of the resources available, but I made use of 2 inches for the width of this particular one. The next step now will be to start joining my fabrics together. So I'm going to begin by coming down by 2.5 inches for my fabric, and towards my pocket side I'm going to be coming down by 4.5 inches, just as you can see me do in this video. I'm also going to proceed by measuring 6.5 inches from that 4.5 inches. Then once I'm done with that, I'm also going to be marking out a straight line, and this will form my line of sewing. And I'm going to be repeating the same thing on the other side as well. So after sewing that side of the pocket, this is what we're going to have. So I'm going to go ahead to notch the edges of this sewn part. Once I'm done notching the edges, I'm going to flip the pocket to the other side, and we're going to be having something like this. So now I'm going to be using my office pin to pin this down. Now the next thing I'll be doing is to follow this trace and sew. I'm also going to be repeating the same process on the other side as well. So guys, after stitching, this is what we have. So now I'm going to proceed to the next phase, which will be to flip my pocket to the right side, just the way you can see me do in this video. So I'm going to be pinning the downside of my pocket, and I'm also going to go ahead to use my chalk to mark it out because this is the line where I'll be stitching. So I'm going to be repeating the same process on the other side. So after stitching, this is what we have, and I'm going to be turning this to the right side. So at this point, this is what we have, and I'm going to go ahead to pin this area together. I'm going to be pinning the body of my pants together with my pocket. So I'm going to go ahead to also reverse this area of my pocket. So that side is where I'm going to reverse on my sewing machine. So I'm going to repeat this same process on the other side as well. So after running my reversals, this is what we have. So the next thing to do now will be to join my back with my front. So I'm going to be doing this right away. So while I proceed to pinning this down, I also want you to take note of the fact that while sewing the sides of your pants, make sure that the area where the pocket is, you are not sewing on it. So I'm going to be showing you what the outcome should look like. Once you're sewing it, it should not climb this pocket area. So you have to be very careful that you are not stitching on that pocket area. If not, you'll be having a closed pocket. So this is a part for you to take note. So I'm going to be running this all through, and I'm going to be repeating the same process on the other side as well. After joining the sides of my pants, this is what I have on both sides. This is what I have. So now the next thing to do now will be what? I'm going to be joining my combat pocket together. So I'm going to be starting by folding the pocket body, just the way you can see me do in this video. So I'm going to go ahead to pin it down. I'm going to go ahead to pin because I need about 1 inch folding allowance for this. So I'm going to pin it down. I'm going to be repeating the same process on the other side, on the other pocket as well. So for the side of my combat pocket, I'm going to go ahead to join this together to form one piece. So after that, after sewing the folding allowance and all, I'm also going to be joining this. I'm also going to be attaching the side of my combat with the main body. So this is how I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to pin this side with the main body. So since the combat pocket is in a four corner shape, I'm going to be pinning this to form the four corner shape as well. Since we are working on two combat pockets, I'm going to be repeating the same procedure on the other pocket as well. So after sewing, this is what we have. So if you're following me, this is what you should be getting. This is the result you should be getting. If you're not getting this, then go back to watch the video. So now I'm going to go ahead to notching the edges of the combat pocket, and I'm going to be repeating the same process on the other side as well. After which, I'm going to be flipping my combat pocket like this, and I'm going to be pinning it as well. So this part is what I'm going to be stitching. I'm going to be stitching it round. I'm going to be stitching. It's more like I'm double stitching what I've sewn before. So I'll go ahead to use my chalk to mark it, that part. I'm going to be stitching this. So once I'm done, you're going to see the result of what I did. So this is the result of the stitching. This is how it looks like after stitching. So now I'm going to go ahead to attach this to the body of our pants. So from our pocket area, we're going to be measuring 5 inches from this side of our pocket downward. We're going to be measuring 5 inches. So this 5 inches is where our combat is going to be starting from. 5 inches. So from this angle to the other angle, we are going to be dividing whatever we have into 2, because we want to centralize that part. So we add 26. So we are going to be dividing 26 into 2, and that's going to give us 13 inches. So our midpoint will be 13 inches. So now I'm also going to proceed to marking the center of my combat pocket to fit in with the center we already marked. So I'm also going to be doing this at the downside as well. So once I'm done doing this, I'm also going to be placing the combat pocket on the trouser, fitting into the center point. So now, since we have about ½ inch from the upper side, ½ inch from the joining, we should also have about ½ inch from the joining of the downside too. But to be sure of this, we are also going to be checking what we have. We have 23, and we have about 23 inches. So we are going to that is going to be giving us 11.5 as our midpoint. So you can see that we have about ½ inch from the joining allowance. So now we are going to be pinning this together. So I'm marking the different angles on the body of our pants. So once I'm done marking out my angle, I'm going to be coming out like this on the sides of the combat. So I'm going to be pinning this to the main body. So after attaching it to the main body, this is what we have. So I'm going to be forming a closure around the upper part of the combat pocket. So this is what I'm going to be attaching it, because I'm going to be reversing this area of the pocket. So I'm also going to be repeating the same thing on the other side, because we want our pockets to be very firm at the upper side. Now the next thing to do now will be to sew this pocket cover. So I'm going to be sewing about ½ inch on both sides. So I've gone ahead to reverse the mouth of the pocket, and this is what we have. So now I've also gone ahead to sew the sides of this cap. So you remember these pieces we cut previously, we are going to be sewing this as well. After sewing, this is what I have. So we're going to be making use of this later on. But before then, let me couple everything together. So on this part, I went ahead to reduce the shorter strap into 3 inches, and then I inserted my accessories, and then I proceeded to double stitching that part. So the next step now is to attach my pocket cap. So I'm going to be sewing this, and once I'm done, I'll also proceed to reinforcing the cap as well at the upper part. So once I'm done, you will see how it looks like. But before then, I'm also going to be attaching this strap to the side of my pocket. So to achieve that, I'm going to be coming down from my pocket area by 2 inches, and also from away from my pocket, I'm also going to be going outside by 2 inches. Away from that point, I'm going to be going outside by 2 inches. I also realized that coming down by 2 inches might not really give out what I want, so I came down extra more. That should give me about 4 inches length, and my width away from my pocket was 2 inches. So this is where I'll be attaching this my strap. So I'm going to be pinning this down because I'm going to go ahead to stitch this alongside with the pocket cap. After stitching everything, this is what I have. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing now will be to join my flap, which is the clutch area. I'm going to be joining it together. After joining the flaps together, this is what we have. So I'm going to be attaching both the joining of the front flap together with the joining of the back flap. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be pinning this down and then proceed to sewing the sides of my cargo pants. Now that I am done joining the sides, I'm going to be turning this to the right side. So the next thing to do now will be to fold the downside of my cargo pants, and I'm going to be doing that right away on both sides. Yeah, so this is what we have. I'm also gonna add to fold the allowance I left for the upper side of my cargo, which I'm also going to be inserting my elastic right away. Meanwhile, while folding, I also make sure that the pockets were facing each other at the front side of my cargo pants. So make sure you always take note of this when you're doing yours. So for my band elastic, I divided my hip measurement into 2, and that gave me 23 inches. So I'm making use of 23 inches for my elastic. So I'm going to proceed to inserting this into my band. Furthermore, I'm going to proceed by stitching this on my machine. So I'm going to be reversing this very well so it doesn't loosen. So once I'm done with that, I'm also going to go ahead to seal that part. So finally we are done, and this is the outcome of our cargo pants. So if you watched through to this point, this is me saying thank you for always watching my video, and this means so much to me. If you're yet to subscribe, what are you waiting for? Please kindly subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.